For my router table, I've been using this switch for a while. This comes from a Triton router table. So I pilfered that when I switched to the built-in router table on my table saw. Pretty basic concept. Router power goes in, power comes out, plugs into the wall, turn it on, paddle turns it off. Very simple. I don't like this because this cord's too short, so I need an extension lead, and then it just too many leads. And if I reattach this to the Triton router table, I can try and sell that, get some money back. So what I did was buy this switch from Timbercon. Same concept. Router comes into the back. There's a switch that turns it on and off. It's easy to switch off with your knee paddle. Power comes out the back, and it's got a much longer lead. I bought this in September last year at the wood show, and I want to recommend this, but I'm not going to. It's really a much better switch. It's much more positive. If you want, you can pull out the key so it doesn't work if that's something you're interested in. Attaches much the same, though easier to get the screws off and then screw it into a piece of wood or something, wherever you want. But the problem is it's 15 amp. So that means it's 15 amp on the back here, 15 amp here. So in Australia we are 240 by 10 amp for all our residential sockets. 15 amp is still 240, but you're getting more into your industrial settings. They use the same physical plug except for the earth pin. On the 15 amp it's physically bigger. 10 amp can plug into 15 amp no problem, but 15 amp physically cannot plug into 10 amp. Now the thing is, that means that you need to have a 15 amp circuit to plug this into. I have one 15 amp circuit for the combo machine, but I don't have it for anything else. Now that circuit's got 2 points on it, so I can plug it in, but it's over the other side of the workshop. The really stupid thing, I think, is that there's no routers on the market that are 15 amp, at least none that I know of. In fact, most of the routers don't even have an earth pin. They're double insulated, so they don't need it. I don't know about, oh no, the Bosch one has it, but not the Triton one. Triton one is 3 horsepower, so 2,400 watts. So that means I can't plug this in. Well, I can plug this into the switch, but then the switch needs to go into a 15 amp circuit. So that's what I'm redoing today. So, router table. The switch will come off that, go down to this power brick here, which is a 15 amp 4-port power box thing. It's got its own RCD. You can see that. Table saw will also go into that, as will the bandsaw. They're both 10 amp things. That power box only has a 1.8 meter cable, so an extension lead, which is far too long. I need to do something about that. That shouldn't be tangled, because if that heats up it could melt. And then finally over to 15 amp there. Now, as I said, it's a bit stupid because you can't find a 15 amp router on the Australian market. Actually, I don't know of any that would draw more than 2,400 watts. So it just causes a bit of a problem. Geez, that split it pretty bad actually. Oops, sorry, there we go. So that works, but man, that is not pretty. So you're probably wondering, why don't I just make my own switch or change over the plugs and all of that? In Victoria, which is the state in which I live, that's basically illegal. You might go, oh, but it's basic power, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. I'm sort of playing by the rules because this is where I live, so I don't want to do anything dangerous or that would compromise insurance, that sort of stuff. Should a fire occur, blah, blah, blah. The state of Victoria is bordering on nanny state for those sort of things. If you don't have an electrical license, look, honestly, they probably would like you to get a Sparky to plug things in and out or change light globes, but that's not going to fly. They actually ran a campaign, the state government ran a campaign of DIY equals die. So electrical work is really frowned upon, or DIY electrical work is really frowned upon. So this solution works. I don't have to get a Sparky out, and relatively inexpensive. The power switch is from Timbecon. As I said, I want to recommend it, but can't because there are no 15 amp routers in Australia. Most people are going to have 10 amp circuits, not 15 amp. So it doesn't make sense as a product. You could argue that, oh yeah, but 15 amp is its own separate circuit, so you should put your router on that anyway. And yeah, that's true, except that I've got 3 circuits in here. I've got 2 circuits in here that are 10 amp, and I put my dust collector on one or my vacuum on one and the router on the other and I have no issues whatsoever. So you could still use that on if it was 10 amp, you could still use it on a 15 amp circuit, no problem, but the other way around limits you. So it's a weird product. I probably could have returned it and gone, hey, this is a bit odd. But it took me a while to notice, and fair enough, it did say it on the website, so I haven't brought it up with Timbecon. So it's not their fault as such. They've stocked a weird product.